Hi everyone, I'm Airier, and today we're going to be checking out A Fan with Too Much Time, Star Wars vs. Warhammer 40K. This is going to be one of the first shorts, specifically Red Eyes, Revelation, and Bucket. And Bucket, apparently. Red Eyes? Okay. Probably something crazy. Revelations. I don't think it's a reference to the Emperor, even though he has gone by that name, so it's probably actual Revelations. Bucket? I got no idea what we're about to get into on this one, but I've been told that there's an entire series of shorts I need to watch to understand anything in the next episode, so yeah, let's do that, because, I mean, the worst thing I could possibly do is have something I'm really okay with, because, seriously, the writing here is good. I just enjoyed getting into this and going way too heavy on the geek side, so if you haven't already, there's a link below to the original video. Hit it up, and when you're done, don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe here as well. Let's get started. Oh, we're going right into the settings he's used for his intros. Neat. So it's very loud. I wonder where he gets this art. It's good. Ooh, looks like something dwarfy. And I know he's used this as his profile pic now, and he's put in a few of the words at the end. Oh, is this his own brand new introduction? Nice. I don't even do those yet. Mostly because I'm lazy. Or let's ignore that good and completely accurate reason. Okay. Oh shit, I didn't mean to jump ahead. Just surprise me. In collaboration with Steven and Nora of the excellent Honorable Gaming channel. Ooh, cool. I have not heard of their channel. I want to find out what their channel is. Do they do like wargaming? Video gaming? Just call it a gaming channel even though they do something completely different, which I don't have any idea how that would ever work out because I've never done that. Yeah. Gregorian chanting presents. Bit long on the wait here. Oh my god, Star Wars vs. Warhammer 40K. I like this though. I like this intro card. Like a lot of times Fan in the previous episodes chose setting fonts that were kinda eye gouging. This one, not so bad. I think it's going a little slow. And we're back to the eye gouging. Red Eyes, Revelations, and Bucket. I hate this font. Not his choice, but this font. I've seen it before. I hated it then too.
It's getting late. I'm not sure I've ever had a field watch that lasted as long as whatever you're doing right now.
Oh?
The Clone Guardian groaned. He lightly dinged his helmeted head against the metal cover over one of the many arrayed supercomputing ports that were lined up, going out.
Do they have someone different reading this? I do not see. I'll have to look at the credits at the end. But that doesn't sound like the voice I'm used to. Now, I mean, Fan has good range of voice acting, but I'm assuming this is why he brought up the other channel. Maybe they're reading the short instead.
For miles in either direction. They were stacked in rows, with hallway space between them for engineers and technicians to access them.
Are they on...
Dr. Sheena ignored Bucket.
Oh, Dr. Sheena.
Chair, which she had parked nearly within one of the maintenance alcoves.
Oh, we're going back to her.
Doc, I'm starving over here. Can you at least explain to me what you've been doing?
Yep, definitely a different person. Completely different accent for
12 hours? I'm not used to being around someone not talking to them. Bucket whined. Sheena took a deep breath, first in and then slowly out. Though her fingers did not cease their tapping, and her eyes, bloodshot and intense, did not blink. Before her were data streams and hollow access points, each laid out and scrolling past simultaneous interludes which she had set. 8 of her digital proxies were maneuvering within the system, operating at various levels.
Digital proxies? That almost sounds like AI. Which, I mean, of course Star Wars has that. They have droids, but this is just going to be a weird thing. And it might just be my lack of knowledge about Star Wars getting here, but I didn't realize they did that kind of high-end technical work all that much. It seems they did a lot more physical manufacturing and droids that were unoptimized. I didn't realize they would actually go into the more technical database side.
And all at her direction. Currently, all of them were occupied, each one engaging with the security system of the Senate's communications record cache in one way or another.
I've been trying to slice into the Supreme Chancellor's private communications history,
she murmured.
Okay, so apparently the people who he named at the beginning are those, both, I cannot speak today. Both. There's the word of the voice actors here. Also because they finally gave Sheena a female voice. It's like, whoa, that's different. Dude. Still, though, really good voice acting so far.
Dry eyes darting. Bucket slumped at the news and shook his head. Why? Don't you work for the Chancellor? He asked.
We all work for the Supreme Chancellor,
The doctor said, dismissing the comment with barely a thought.
What period is this from?
Bucket crossed his arms and shook his head more vehemently. I mean, you work with the Supreme Chancellor directly,
What?
right? Can't you just ask him to let you see? He suggested. She almost paused and found herself laughing. It was the first time she'd laughed in days. But the laughter was not of a genuine sort.
Do I have the name wrong? Sheena. Yeah, no, it's the same name. He pronounced it slightly different. He's like, am I thinking about a different person? Because I don't know which time frame this is from, but I don't remember her working directly for the Chancellor, so either that's new, or this is a flash forward? This is one of those things that it's hard to contextualize what time period this is in, and I'm pretty sure that's intentional. Because in the previous episode, fans showed that he could understand the basics of setting up a scene and then moving on to something else to set up the previous scene for when you come back to it, without actually saying that they're related, but giving you the physical clues about the individual scene so you can draw the conclusion he wants without being told. Here, I'm assuming that's happening now, and the fact that we haven't got some kind of direct correlation of what time frame this is important, because it's doing two things. One, I'm assuming this is not jumping well before the plot started, so this would have to be after she made her recommendation of basically making him the Supreme Chancellor, so a lot happened. We had the end of the previous episode go into a little bit about how, let's go with his plan, which I'm sure will completely survive contact with an enemy, is going to make him all-powerful, but also make the people who normally wouldn't want to give him power give him power. And honestly, that's kind of a coup in its own right.
But the laughter was
Oh, shit, I didn't mean here, but it's telling us that she's now working with him. So we get her exposition dump of what happened to her is, I'm now working with him. Why are you asking me? Shut up. How much time has passed, though, is going to be very important. I don't think it'll be too much, because I think Axiom is still going on a lot longer than I realized, even by fans' long, drawn-out standard. People talk about it as if he's still writing new parts of it now. Which is crazy, considering this is just the relief fleet, not the actual main 40K fleet. But, just, why are we not getting the time frame immediately? I mean, it's not a bad thing, and I'm mostly curious because I believe that would be done on purpose, but I don't know the purpose of delaying it yet. And that's actually very curious.
Of a genuine sort.
It's because I work with him that I know that would never work. Sure, he will placate me, maybe show me something he wants me to see, but if it's something he doesn't want people to know, then I won't see it. At best, I'll be deceived. At worst, well, he'll know I know something about something he doesn't want me to know.
And in a handful of sentences, she already understands Palpatine better than almost every damn Jedi. I mean, yeah, the Force gives people great insight. And they're relying on it because it's not like someone could use it to hide from them. And just being around him, she's already figured it out. Yeah, she perfectly understands Palpatine. He'll tell you what you want and what he wants you to want. And anything else lets him know that he needs to off you. Smart lady.
And I'd rather not make an open enemy of my employer, much less the Supreme Chancellor.
She said.
Who's about to become a lot
Bucket
more.
tilted his head. And the way you are choosing to not make an enemy of the Supreme Chancellor is by illegally slicing into his holo records, he asked.
He keeps holo
She
records?
nodded.
More or less.
A little
She
surprised
said.
about that.
But then why even bother? If he finds out you did this, you'll be his enemy no matter what you find.
But this way, there's
Even
a
if you
chance he
find
won't.
nothing,
I
Bucket said.
think it won't work, but...
Dr. Sheena nodded and licked some sweat off of her upper lip. She knew that.
She what? I'm sorry. I need to... I thought they said licked some sweat, and I'm off the upper lip. Okay, lip. For some reason, I thought they said brow. I don't know why I got that in my head, but just...
Dr. Sheena nodded and licked some sweat off of her upper lip.
Ew. I'm going to just track that down to an alien thing because, yeah, no, I heard that right. Ew. Sorry, I don't. That's just personal squick factor.
She knew that. Of course she knew that.
Yeah.
Her heart was beating so fast and had been for all of these 12 hours. She felt exhausted.
12 hours?
But nothing
Damn.
she felt now could compare to what she'd felt back on the Honor Hound.
Flashing back to this, definitely setting in the forward time period. She's working from
Thing
now.
she had seen. That thing that had killed Rinfi, killed Gaffin, and everyone else on that ship. That thing had not been human. She was sure of it.
I mean, she's not wrong entirely. It's transhuman, which is human with a lot of extra things being the predominant factor.
It had been too large, too powerful. Its eyes still blazed, still watched her from her memory, burning,
This image is a lot
kindling,
brighter than it was
judging.
the first time it was shown.
Its last
Did
words
not remember seeing the
whispered
blood
to
in
her
that
her
thing.
dreams, in her idle moments, in the maw of silence.
Ooh, can I actually understand it this time? Oh, that's good. Beforehand, one of the issues I had was some of the audio was distorted beyond what can make it easily comprehensible. This level here is still distorted. You still have to focus on it, but you can get it without having to go back and re-listen, which I think just on a mixing level, nice. That's just good. I like it.
The natural question then, of course, was for what?
Also, I love that we can actually
Judgment
see the
about
image
what?
now and see just, it's gone right
What
through
was
with
it
a single
judging,
swipe.
and why?
Swipe right through the
Why had it
gun.
judged them all worthy of death?
Good art.
But she had that answer already, yet while she knew why, she did not know why. Doc? Asked the clone bodyguard.
It's funny because like she's freaking out right now and it's like, I don't know why, but I know why, but I don't know why. Which sounds like she's having a panic attack. And honestly, she probably is. But the crazy part is, and this is something I love that is being dropped in here. This is an example of two things happening. First is her having a panic attack, which is what the clone bodyguard is picking up on by asking. But the second one, and probably the more important, is she's asking the right question. God, she's super perceptive. So far, she already completely decoded actually works. Decoded and then discredited Palpatine's entire operating procedures of, I'm going to let you know what I want, and if you find out otherwise... Oh my. But also, she's picked up on this, that there's more to their motive than the initial kill the enemy, kill the Xeno. Also her, because she's the Xeno. Oddly enough, not as fast as I expected, because they want information off her, but details. This is a very good example of showing a very smart character. And this is something fans have done a lot, with various moments showing how smart or how intelligent or just how natural someone comes to certain bits of smartness. I couldn't think of a better synonym off the top of my head. Sue me. Please don't. I don't have money for it. But more importantly, because of all the previous build work I just mentioned, the fact that she's asking the right question now, when she's having a breakdown to distract you from the fact that she's asking the right question, is showing something very important. She's getting to the very basic idea of, they are killing us because we are the enemy. We are the alien to them. But why are they doing that? Which is going to answer the big question of, they're not an extragalactic force. If she ever gets that answer, it's, they are basically refugees from everything is trying to kill us always forever. The Imperium of Man isn't good. It is the best that they have because everything else is functionally worse. I don't know nearly enough about the Leagues of Votan to say anything about them, so we're just going to ignore them for now. Who knows? Maybe they're good, maybe they're not. It's 40K, though. I'm assuming it'll go Men of Iron eventually. Yeah, it would be kind of a cool twist to redo Old Knight, but details. Yeah. I just like that she's asking the right question because no one else is going to ask that yet. And she's doing it in a complete fugue state, so even the question will be dismissed. A lot by her readers, too.
Bucket, do you remember what happened right before the battle? There was a situation. One of the enemy ships had come out of hyperspace right in front of the fleet and ahead of its own forces. It was a huge ship.
She said. Bucket nodded.
Oddly enough, are they going through hyperspace? Because wouldn't the warp and the force then be the same thing?
To watch him.
But also the warp
frenzy.
and hyperspace and the force and hyperspace.
Oh, I remember, he said.
And then something happened. One of our ships broke ranks Do you remember that?
She asked,
Oh, she picked up on
her
that.
voice a breathless whisper, as though she feared she might be overheard. Bucket nodded again. Yeah, I remember that. Captain Kraken lost his mind and suicide
Did
ran
he?
the enemy ship.
Did he though?
We were almost part of the group sent to
It's not
help
like he overrode
evacuate
it.
the wreckage. If we'd been...
Oh. Sorry, I know this is a bit odd, but I like the art choice, of course. But they're showing something here that a lot of 40K art doesn't actually show. Non-religious buildings on a ship. Mostly because this is a generic cityscape. And I mean, they're described as cities. Internally, in this narrative, they're described internally as cities. And they're mentioned to basically be city-states in their own right, and sometimes as big as some small countries. Probably functionally and massively bigger than some of them, if I'm being completely honest, considering how big these can get, especially when you hit Gloriana sizes, which no one here is, but details. But I just like this art right here, because you can see that, yes, they got the skyscrapers and the buildings and the different sizes for it. It's like, yeah, they built a city on it because, fuck it. It's just different because usually it's all the Gothic architecture everywhere, and they don't have any normal-esque, just skyscraper-style buildings. It's kind of cool to see that. I don't know why they have it that way and why the few are just really tall, but I'm assuming it's because rich people. I mean, it's a good enough reason. I mean, weird that it would be on here, but I'm assuming this is where the navigators live, and they just are rich. I'm hoping. It depends on who's dealing with them. Yeah, just kind of cool to see that alternate style of art, which is mentioned, but not always shown.
Well, then we wouldn't have been in trouble, he said.
Good. I'm glad you know that much, but do you know which ship Kraken used to do it?
She asked. The clone shrugged as he answered.
Which ship?
Well, I guess it would be his ship. The Honor Hound, he started to say, trailing off, already realizing that made no sense.
It wasn't.
She confirmed for him.
Oh.
It was a new ship, a modified Venator called the Bellador, which was given over to Renfi just before the mission began.
Oh.
That ship was personally gifted to him by Supreme Chancellor Palpatine.
Well, that's odd.
Why? I mean, it's a great smoking gun, but this is more of just a me thing. I don't like having this reveal right here, right now. If this is something she only gets from her knowledge, cool. But unless the next bit of the narrative covers why they needed to give him that ship, I'm going to be very curious, because it doesn't really make sense. Because Palpatine could have given that order and not used a brand new warship. The logic doesn't seem to be there yet. That said, it probably will come up, but it's just, I wish there was some reason they just, before they said, I got it from, or he got it from Palpatine. It's like, yes, the ship was blah, 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 which he got right before he came here from Palpatine. I would have just appreciated that right there. This is more of just a minor little bitch on my end, because it's not a big deal. But because I'm hypercritical about fiction, it's something I spend way too much time thinking about. It just, I would have liked to see why getting the ship is important rather than, oh, smoking gun. Why is it a smoking gun? We know it's a smoking gun. They know it's a smoking gun. But why does a smoking gun have to exist? No idea. It could just be because we need a smoking gun and the narrative demands it. Fan is usually pretty good about not doing that, so I would give them the benefit of the doubt and not think that it'll just come up later. I just kind of wish there was something right before that to just build up to the smoking guns. Like, yes, and the ship had da-da-da-da-da. Then, and he got it from Palpatine. Just that small reorganization to build up to it a little better, to make it a little more incriminating, rather than just having to rely on the fans' external meta-knowledge of the situation to make it a smoking gun.
I guess, Bucket said. Sheena nodded, tapping roughly against the glass keys of her chair-mounted console.
It gets odder. I
That is
was
a lot
on
of
the
starships.
bridge when it all happened. Kraken was getting our commands, was hearing our transmissions, but he wasn't responding. He chose not to respond. It was like he just...
She started to
Trance?
say, struggling to find the words. Just following orders, Bucket muttered softly.
Exactly. I almost want to say he was in a trance, but if you've seen the holo, then you know how precise that jump needed to be to actually hit its target. Captain Kraken was lucid, and he was at the helm, and he used all his skill to cleave that huge ship right down the center.
Said the doctor. And doing that... Fraggin' moons of frag! doing that started this whole war in the process.
Yep. And ironically, it's making Palpatine's plan easier and inevitably going to fail. He's only realized half of that yet. That it's making his plan easier because the people who didn't want him in charge are now asking him to take over power. Harder because he literally is painting a target on his back and they can get around really fast. Just wondering how long before they have to do multiple ships jumping around constantly through hyperspace for them to find it. Constantly moving and not actually be able to give out many orders unless he pre-records them. It'll happen or it won't. I don't know which way it'll go though.
Bucket said, only realizing the implication of the act.
Yes, that's the part that's obvious, Bucket. But there's just one particular thing that does not add up.
How would they know in
Maybe
advance?
more than all of these other oddities. One thing that is pushing me to find out more, despite the obvious risk.
Did it just get quieter?
Sheena said. And what's that? Asked the clone.
All Republic hyperdrives have inhibitors built into them. Fail-safes that pull the ships out of hyperspace if a sufficient mass shadow is detected in the path.
Ah, and that's why it has to be a new ship, so that it would have the disabling safety tech. I mean, weird they can't just, take that out. Probably it's built in so no one can do that intentionally. Kind of wish they had started with that. Not gonna lie, just a little reorganization of the audio. Just to go, yeah, the ship shouldn't have been able to do that attack. And then, after we hit here, and he got it directly from Palpatine right before he came here. It's like I said, just a little reorganization would have made it a lot more impactful. It's not bad, but I think it's just relying a bit more on outside meta knowledge. It works because we have that meta knowledge, but I think it just worked better reorganized. It's not a big deal though.
Of the vessel. These are hard.
Her audio is really quiet.
Undoing that safety takes time and equipment. Too much time, in fact.
Bucket paused to consider her words, but shook his head after a while. Oh, I still don't get it. The doctor sighed, breathing out her annoyance and increasing the rate of her tapping fingers.
The Bellador was modified for fringe space exploration. Its modifications included non-standard changes to critical systems.
Okay, I mentioned already that her audio is really short. And her audio recording quality, great. But I swear it's getting quieter every time she speaks. I don't usually go off audio unless it's a big issue, but for the love of God, it's like the narrator's really high. The male speaker Bucket is, that's where the Bucket comes from, is pretty good. Just good level. And then every time she speaks, it's like, no, you can barely hear it. I'm thinking about cranking up my own audio, except everyone else would blow it out then. It's not a big issue, but it's just an annoyance.
The shields, the crew quarters, the life support systems, the navigation sensors, and...
she said, letting the last word hang in the air. Bucket fumbled with his thoughts for a moment before gasping as the answer struck him. The hyperdrive? He asked.
Yep.
Precisely! The listed changes appear to make it seem safe enough, but I'm not convinced of that. Not after the Bellador succeeded in accurately throwing itself down the center of that Imperial starship.
Sheena said. Wait, so you think the Supreme Chancellor had already prepared that ship to be used as a suicide ram? Bucket asked, aghast at the very suggestion.
See, this right here, this is where it should be. This is where the revelation of Palpatine should be. Not that earlier, like, oh yeah, and she got it, or they got it from Palpatine right before. No, this is where it is. This is where it had to be. In fact, literally going in and cutting out that part, even moving it in right before here. He got it from Palpatine. And then, are you saying, literally right there where he says, are you saying, that is the absolute perfect point for that initial reveal. Sorry, it's actually bugging me because the legwork was done. The placement is perfect. It's literally a cut and paste. I don't know if you can do that in post on YouTube. If you can, yeah, that'd be nice. Yeah. Sorry, it's a minor nitpick, but it's going to get to me because it has everything it needs. It jumps the gun just a little bit.
Sheena did not answer. She only typed more. Bucket, however, continued. But if that were the case, then wouldn't the order to ram the ship have come from...
And now you know why I need to know. Maybe the ship had a ram...
Still weird that he has hollow vids of himself.
Maybe he was drugged.
Maybe it's like the Nixon thing and he doesn't know about him. Or forgot.
Got the order from somewhere else. But the
because anyone who would have access to them would be him and everyone else is dead.
In this case, The simplest explanation is...
Dr. Sheena said before trailing off. A silence started then, and the clone seemed to take his position as lookout much more seriously. Sheena's hovering chair was wired to a nearby console, and while this section of the Senate...
Oh, she's in the Senate right now. And so she's in those floaty pillar thingies. Okay. Not really pillars. They're more like pillar tops without a pillar below them. Interesting. Huh. When they were hacking, I wasn't sure where they were talking about from, but if they're actually in the Senate chamber itself, weird that no one's watching them.
Labyrinthian technical and maintenance access spaces had been utterly deserted for all the hours that they had spent there thus far.
An access hover chair?
Everything seemed much less safe than it had been before.
Dude, you were already breaking into the Senate, apparently, sneaking around in ductwork to hack into the Chancellor's personal video records or holo record. I don't think there was safety already. This is the shoot first if he wasn't evil. And now you are realizing this is very much he is evil. Yeah. The ball's on Sheena, though, because she actually figured it out. She understands what Palpatine's like, and she already kind of got the revelation of, shit, this is his fault. Is she going to start the rebellion in this one before he's even Emperor? Oh, my.
At least to the clone. Doc? Bucket said.
Yes?
She asked. I'm no computer expert, but if you actually managed to break into there, won't there be some sign that you did this?
Yep.
I'm sure you cannot listen to the Supreme Chancellor's personal communications without leaving a footprint. Sheena smirked and nodded.
Well, I wouldn't phrase it quite like that, but yes, which is why I'm not trying to listen to anything.
She said. What are you even looking for? He asked.
Simple.
She said.
A timestamp.
What? He asked.
Oh, that's actually really useful because you don't actually need to know the content of the conversation, just that the conversation happened. So if you see the last modified date, when that conversation went to who you know is receiving it, you can see that they have that conversation. If you already kind of know what the conversation is, you don't need the extra verification. You just need to know that it happened. That's actually really smart. Huh.
Asked.
A lot of people in fiction get hung up on listening to the audio, where the content alone is incriminating.
If I can see if a message was sent and get a timestamp, then I can see if it was just sent before the ramming happened. It won't prove anything, not by itself, but...
But it will be way too convenient to be coincidence.
And he says he's not smart. He just figured out everything that's going on already. And more importantly, Dr. Sheena now has enough evidence that everyone who already doesn't like Palpatine will really like this information. Like is probably a very inaccurate word. More like not enjoy finding out that their worst fears are correct.
He finished for her.
Faster than they would have otherwise.
She nodded. But if you find out and the message was sent, then what next? Who do we tell about something like this?
People who don't like
Jedi?
Palpatine.
Bucket asked. Sheena almost laughed again.
The Jedi? No. They are either in on it themselves at some level, or, if they are not, they are bound to do something ridiculous. Can you...
Nothing to say here, just pointing out, if the Jedi knew something, they do something stupid. Like try and storm his office with only a handful of Jedi for someone who may or may not be hyper corrupt and may or may not be a Sith. It only failed because Anakin was there. That said, yeah, that does kind of going off half-cocked. Temperance would have really helped.
Can you imagine if the Jedi tried to arrest the Chancellor over this? If he really did orchestrate these events, then there is no telling what else he is capable of. He could... Like
an Order 66, or more importantly, you're literally trying to arrest the guy in charge during a war of absolute, oh fuck, we gonna die. When most of your order isn't even there. So they would go in with minimal people and they could just stop giving them support. And ironically, I'm kind of surprised Palpatine hasn't tried to set off the bomb. He's probably sent someone to set off the bomb and kill all the Jedi, isn't he? In Axiom. Honestly, it'd be silly of him not to at this point. I mean, sure, he probably actually needs those Jedi, but he would probably prioritize them dying more than having a workable Force-using army at his beck and call. Not sure how long he'll figure out he actually needs it, though. Probably too late.
Tear the Republic apart, and it would be as easy as issuing Order 66 just before his arrest.
She said. Order 66?
I'm sorry. How the fuck does she know about that? I mean, I know she works with him, but I thought she's hacking in now. What?
Asked Bucket. The doctor nodded her head as she continued her work.
It's one of the 150 contingency orders that were drafted at the onset of the Clone Wars. They are supposed to be just for show, but who knows?
I don't know which is going to hurt more. That in fans' version of this, the orders were public. Or that my knowledge, which I fully admit I don't know too much about when it comes to Star Wars, includes, or the lack of including the knowledge that Order 66 was public knowledge and they just ignored it. You know, I know which one pisses me off more. And considering Fan has been using a lot of in-universe lore, I'm leaning more towards the second one where, yeah, no, these orders were public and everyone's like, hey, PR stunt, and ignored it. and then it wasn't, and it was real. And literally some Jedi should have looked at that, but they are very, very myopic. They don't see the forest of the trees. They see the galaxy, and they can't see an individual blade of grass that literally cuts their throat because it wasn't actually a blade of glass. I know what I said. It's a mistaken word, but it works perfectly well as well. Oh, God, that would just be the ultimate irony of, hey, here's all the rules of like the crazy orders we can give them. Oh, my God. I always thought it was like a hidden order that they were planted with that they never would have realized. But maybe it wasn't. I'm sure it's not going to say kill all the Jedi. It's probably do something else, but just, oh my God.
Knows what would happen if he actually issued them.
She said. So who do we tell if not the Jedi? The Senate? Bucket asked.
Someone maybe,
Almost.
but probably not.
She said before one of her screens turned blue.
The Separatists?
And then all of them followed suit. Dr. Sheena pulled her hands away from the keys abruptly as a new data stream began to fill her view. And she blinked her bloodshot eyes for the first time in too long.
Oh?
Wanting to be sure she was reading this correctly. Wanting to avoid an error at all costs. Whoa! What was that?
Death
Bucket
Star?
asked, leaning in towards the alcove.
I'm in.
Sheena whispered.
You just had to do it, Fan. You had to do the classic hacker line. I'm in.
Eyes scanning frantically.
You just had to do it.
Bucket asked.
Can't even blame you.
Voice tight as he came to watch over her shoulder.
And they chose a
Her hand
cyberpunk
snapped
image.
out, tapping a key, and the data stream froze. She lifted her finger to one line, tracing under the holographic script, feeling her heart beat harder and harder as she read it again and
What
again.
did she read?
There it is.
She said at last.
A private transmission sent from the office of the Chancellor to an unmarked vendor. Unmarked, but within the war theater we were operating within. The message was sent only a few minutes before the ram. Frag! Only seconds before Kraken broke the formation. It's all right there.
The doctor breathed.
And there is the smoking gun, which we already knew about. But at this point, it's like, yeah, confirmation. The revelation isn't just her imaginations.
Oh, Scrog and Scrog! Bucket moaned.
Scrog?
So what now? He asked.
Star Wars thing.
The words seemed to snap Dr. Sheena back to reality, and she reached for the keys again, starting the process of covering her tracks, minuscule though they were.
We need to get in contact with the leader of the Loyalist Committee.
She said. Who?
Amidala?
Bail Organa.
Oh,
Why in?
Organa.
The clone asked.
No.
Said the Saurian doctor.
The real leader of the Loyalists. We need to speak with the only person in the Senate with the backing and backbone to even think about doing anything about this.
She said. Bucket shrugged his shoulders.
I don't know. Bail Organa has some pretty significant attributes that would make him be attributed to bravery, in the sense that he'd actually get the information in the right place, probably.
And who's that? He asked.
Senator Padme Amidala.
Said Sheena.
Shocking.
I need to speak with her before she leaves for Axum.
I'm sorry. What? When Padme's going to Axum? Why? Why would she do that? Why would anyone in the Senate go to Axum? This is literally an active war zone. Unless this is so far in the future, none of this is happening. Oh God, is she? No, she's not with the initial wave because we've seen the things happening in the Senate at the same time as it's going on there. Unless there's a time differential there I wasn't aware of, which is entirely possible. It's a trope in fiction to make things more dramatic when you realize what's one is not happening at the same time as the other. And they were all reversed or not at the same time or far apart. And then it comes together. I don't think that's what's happening here. But it's something that can happen and it will sometimes happen. And sort of did happen previously when we jumped back for when the... I know it's not the name for some reason. I can't get the name Red Team out of my head from the Star Wars or the 40K side started their fight on Axum. I know I have their names wrong, but for some reason I just keep wanting to call them Red Team and Blue Team. They'd probably go to fight over a blood gulch or something. I feel bad about that one. It's where my mind went. But more importantly, her going to Axum, no way, shape, or form is that a good idea. Because they still have a bomb that could blow up everyone. And honestly, if Palpatine didn't send someone to blow up intentionally to take out the enemy and all the Jedi, he doesn't even need to use Order 66. He could probably just do a handful of assassins who he can kill off and nobody knows at this point. And it wouldn't even be his fault. It would be the bomb's fault. And like those enemies, the separatists who made the bomb, he doesn't have control over. Just... The fact that she would go is so incredibly stupid that I really hope some good lore comes up, because that is many levels of dumb. Maybe there's a good reason. We haven't got there yet. Okay, so I did a little poking around in the playlist containing all the videos in order, at least chronological order to the story, and it looks like this video was made well after episode 13, which is the next one we haven't even got to yet, but I've been told again I need to listen to all these little shorts first. This is something that came after it. It was performed after. So anyone listening to this would have probably already had the context for why certain things are happening. Like, why is Padme Amidala going to Axum? Because without context, with only this information, looks stupid. But apparently, when this first came out, there would have been a plethora of additional information you would have had from an entire episode or more, for all I know. Maybe it makes sense. Maybe it doesn't. This is going to be one time, though, where I'm going to ask people not to tell me why, because normally I'm like, hey, what did I miss that this doesn't make sense to me? This time, because it's something that will be coming up later, don't tell me. I'm probably going to someone in the comments telling me, but still, for a few seconds, at least don't. I'm curious. I really want to find out. But I also want to get through all these shorts first and then check out whatever he did, because these seem to be like good bits of extra information. If nothing else, I'll treat it like what that ending is. It's a nugget of something happening that is probably going to go bad. I'm looking forward to every second of it. Otherwise, this is good. The voice acting was good. The guys from Horrible Gaming, the channel there, yeah, they just did a really good job. Their audio was perfect. The voice acting was really interesting. I liked the back and forth. The audio mixing was a little... Sheena was too quiet, Airier was too loud, but Bucket was perfectly in the range you need for that. Other than that, though, that's just something you can fix in post. And hell, you might even be able to do it now in YouTube if YouTube editing didn't break videos. Yeah. But more importantly, this was good. And I can't wait to see what other kind of things are coming up that might include more spoiler or at least additional early information that I wasn't expecting, because I don't know when these came up, but I'm supposed to watch all of them before episode 13, and I really want to see what happens, because this is so freaking good, man. And yeah, I know this was actually a community post, not one of the initial stories, so he actually had it on his channel as a community post, specifically fans channel, and people would just see it if they were really into it. And then it just got voice acted because Horrible Gaming asked if they could, and he said yes. That's cool. I need more, and I could do that because I had time finally. So I'm gonna go do that. All the same, I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm gonna go watch another. Adios.